The mitochondrial Eve, or the Eve gene, is a gene that is directly connected to the melanated woman, meaning that the melanated woman is the original giver of life, meaning that all life began with her.
To be melanated does not mean to not be white. White people also have melanin, therefore white women are also melanated women. Black and brown women just tend to have more melanin. The darker you are, the more melanin you possess. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we need to talk about the Eve gene and the myth of genetic exclusivity in black women.
Hold up, stop right now and watch this video. Did y'all know that black women are the only organisms on Earth that produces the mitochondria DNA? That has all of the variations possible for every single kind of different human being on this Earth. Such as the Africans, the albinos, the Europeans, the Hispanics, the Asians, the Middle Easterns, all Latinos, you name it. When the DNA of a black woman mutates, all other kinds of different human beings come about.
Now, in many online spaces and Afrocentric discussions, it is often said that black women are the origin of life because they possess what is referred to as the Eve gene, sometimes known as mitochondrial Eve. This claim suggests that black women are the genetic mothers of all humanity, a belief that has gained traction in social and cultural circles.
Okay, so maybe I'm the last one to know this, but Eve was black, right? Like Adam and Eve, the first woman was black, because black women are the only one with the Eve gene, and she's the mother of all according to Christians. So
while this narrative may be emotionally affirming, it is not scientifically accurate. In reality, it is a form of black pseudoscience, a belief system that mixes scientific terminology with cultural pride but lacks empirical foundation. This myth persists partly because it contains a grain of scientific truth. It appeals to collective identity, self-worth, and the desire to reclaim historical narratives that have been long distorted by racism and Eurocentrism. Yet, as the Oxford reference defines, pseudoscience is a system of assertions presented as scientific but lacking the methodological rigor and falsifiability that defines actual science. The Eve gene theory exemplifies this. It reframes a genuine scientific discovery into a racially exclusive claim, detaching it from its biological context. Before addressing why this belief resonates so deeply within certain black communities, it is essential to understand what the term mitochondrial Eve truly means in scientific terms.
There's no such thing as the Eve gene. There never has been. It's a figment of your imagination. Stop saying there is one. You sound like a hotep.
In human genetics, every person inherits half of their nuclear DNA from each parent, 50% from their mother and 50% from their father. However, this is not the case for mitochondrial DNA. The mitochondria, often referred to as the powerhouses of the cell, contain their own small circular genome, which is passed down exclusively through the maternal line. Fathers do not contribute mitochondrial DNA to their offspring. By studying mitochondrial DNA mutations across global populations, geneticists have traced all modern human maternal lineages back to a single woman who lived in East Africa roughly 150,000 to 200,000 years ago. This woman is scientifically known as mitochondrial Eve. It is important to clarify that she was not the only woman alive at that time, nor was she the first human woman. Rather, she is the most recent common ancestor from whom all humans today inherit their mitochondrial DNA through an unbroken chain of mothers. This genetic discovery strongly supports the out of Africa hypothesis, which posits that Homo sapiens originated in Africa before migrating outward to populate the rest of the world. Thus, in a very real sense, all humans, regardless of race, share a common maternal ancestry rooted in Africa. However, This does not mean that only black women possess the so-called Eve gene. Instead, all living humans of every race and ethnicity carry this same genetic legacy.
I think it's time to address some pseudoscience and not let that kind of infect the touting the actual real things that black women should be touted for. This magical Eve gene is in every human being on Earth. It is coined the Eve gene because it is mitochondrial DNA contained in all human beings that can be traced back to a mitochondrial Eve, meaning we all descended from the same person in some way, shape, or form dating roughly 150,000 to 200,000 years ago. This mitochondrial Eve was from Africa, or what was now Africa. So we know, and we've known for a while now, this just kind of reinforces that life, or human life, began in Africa. The main thing to take away from the existence of this Eve gene is that we all have a common ancestor who is from Africa. That's it. That's the only thing. We all have one woman that we are descended from.
We now need to discuss the cultural reinterpretation. We need to talk about why the myth still persists. So, why do some people, particularly within parts of the black community, claim that the Eve gene is unique to black women? According to a paper published in the American Journal of Physical Anthropology titled Melanin, Afrocentricity, and Pseudoscience, this belief is closely linked to what has been termed the melanin theory. This theory asserts that melanin, the pigment responsible for skin color, grants black people superior physical, mental, and even spiritual abilities.
I turn my melanin into pure crystal, okay? Your melanin is solidified sunlight. It's divine ether, supreme technology of the cosmos. If you have melanin, that's to be wrapped in a celestial suit of light. So you need to absorb as much sunlight as possible because you're a literal solar panel, you're a battery. And you charge your melanin, you purify your melanin. Your melanin is meant to absorb solar energy, absorb ultraviolet radiation, electromagnetic electricity, okay? And it transmute that, it decodes that. Remember, sunlight is intelligence. So your melanin will synthesize that sunlight and turn it into energy. It'll turn into creativity. It'll turn into strength. It'll turn into whatever you need.
Although it originates from a place of empowerment and historical reclamation, it lacks any legitimate scientific basis. The reinterpretation of mitochondrial Eve as a uniquely black phenomenon can thus be seen as part of a broader Afrocentric mythos, one that attempts to counteract centuries of racial oppression by asserting black primacy. Yet paradoxically, it often reinforces internalized racism by clinging to essentialist ideas about genetics and race. The notion that black women can birth all races, but no other women can do the same, subtly echoes the same racial hierarchies it aims to dismantle. Moreover, this belief system overlaps with the one-drop rule, a social-political concept from colonial and segregationist America that classified anyone with even a trace of African ancestry as black. When applied biologically, it distorts how genetics truly works. For instance, a biracial individual like Mariah Carey appears phenotypically white.
When you think of yourself, do you think I'm black, I'm white, I'm neither? What?
Well, I definitely don't think I'm white because we have the one-drop rule in this country, which says if you're one drop, you know, it comes from slavery. All that stuff comes from slavery. I think of myself as a human being.
Some people may claim that her appearance is due to her Eve gene, rather than her being predominantly of European descent. This interpretation ignores the complexity of genetic inheritance, which is probabilistic rather than deterministic. In truth, no single race has a monopoly on genetic strength or variability. Human traits such as skin color, facial features, and hair texture are governed by complex interactions of multiple genes, environmental adaptation, and evolutionary history, not by the presence or absence of an Eve gene. We now need to talk about the scientific reality and the need for critical thinking. The melanin theory and related pseudoscientific claims are often framed as scientific truths meant to uplift Black identity. However, by oversimplifying human genetics, these theories inadvertently undermine the richness and diversity of Black identity itself. Science does confirm that all humans share African ancestry, but this unity is universal, not exclusive. In evolutionary biology, the power of a theory lies in its falsifiability and evidence base. The mitochondrial Eve model has been reportedly supported by genetic data, comparative DNA sequencing, and fossil evidence. Pseudoscientific reinterpretations, however, rely on selective reasoning, anecdotal proof, and emotional validation rather than empirical data.
If you don't have melanin, then you can't access God?
Well, first of all, everybody has melanin.
Okay.
They just have a very small amount of it. We have the highest amount. Can they access? Yes, but not as quickly, not as efficiently, and not as powerfully as you can. You feel me? A Black person tapped into their spirituality is God incarnate.
As modern genetics demonstrates, all women of all races carry mitochondrial DNA. Therefore, all women, and indeed all people, are linked to mitochondrial Eve. Thinking otherwise requires disregarding centuries of scientific research in population genetics, anthropology, and evolutionary biology. To believe that only Black women possess the Eve gene is to misunderstand both genetics and the profound beauty of shared human ancestry. It is entirely possible to celebrate Black womanhood, beauty, and resilience without relying on unfounded biological exclusivity. True empowerment comes not from pseudoscience, but from truth, from understanding that Black women are powerful not because of mythical genetic superiority, but because of their enduring strength, creativity, and historical significance. Recognizing that all humans share a common African origin does not dilute Black identity. It cements Africa's central role in the human story. In the end, intellectual growth requires humility, the willingness to question our beliefs and embrace correction. Being intelligent is not about always being right, but about knowing when to learn. Our shared ancestry does not make us less special, it makes us profoundly connected, and that in itself is extraordinary.